Okay.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining the Region 2 Stakeholder Advisory Committee meeting. Appreciate everybody making time, especially with the change in time and also being St. Patrick's Day. So we all could raise a virtual glass of green beverage and hopefully you all had lots of luck today. But we have a really busy agenda and lots of exciting things to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into it. So hopefully we'll go ahead and, oh, there we go. Doing some screen sharing here. Hold on just a second. Sorry, got rid of my, there we go. Had to go back to my agenda. So hopefully all advisory committee members received the agenda. I just want to make sure that folks have reviewed it, and I would like to go ahead and confirm our agenda. So do I have a motion to confirm and move forward with today's agenda without any additions?
I'll make that motion.
Great. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Excellent. Thank you. And without any objection, the agenda is approved. Excellent. Perfect. So also just want to thank Carrie and Mark for, keeping everything moving behind the scenes. And of course, a big part of that is our meeting notes and minutes. So hopefully everybody had time to review the February meeting notes and minutes. Does anybody have any changes, suggestions, any edits to those minutes that we need to consider? And if you go ahead and speak or use the raise hand because I can't see you all. Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Great, thank you. Do it. And so you'll make the motion. I need a second.
I second the motion.
Perfect, great, thank you. And is there any objections to this, or can we move to pass unanimously? Any objections? All right, chair hearing none, we will approve the notes from last time. Excellent. So perfect. So just really wanted to thank everybody for all of the various pieces here. And, we're moving into the really kind of exciting piece of what we're going into. And I really want to make sure that folks realize that, now's the rubber's hitting the road. Right now, we're actually we're doing things where we're meeting with groups. We have the input maps out. We're really going and moving this plan forward. And I think it's really important that we, recognize that, this plan is really important. It's a vital key that's a part of the Plan 2040, as well as all the other pieces that are coming together. So, our role here is to really evaluate all the assets and needs and come up with the vision for the next 20 years. And we're really kind of thinking of those key pieces there. And you all have a vital role in this. We all are relying on all of us as people that are appointed. We are appointed by the city council or county council and the county executive to reach out to members of the public and assist in hearing as many voices as possible and making sure that we collaborate with nonprofit groups, corporations, zoning groups, low-income housing group. I mean, you name it. Our goal is to go out there and to hear from these folks and then prepare goals and strategies to implement this vision. And we want to hear your input and get your support through all of this. So now is where we're really the rubber's gonna hit the road. And we're really looking forward to getting all of your help. And today we're gonna really start diving into that, and then we're gonna go into the driving tour and all those various pieces. But just wanted to kind of give a reminder of why we're here and what our purpose and role is, because it's just really important that all of us on this committee are the drivers. We are all in the driver's seat leading this public input process and making sure that we're being as inclusive and hearing from as many voices as possible to make sure that we have the best plan for the next 24 years going forward.
Great. Thanks, Joe. I'm gonna just pop in this slide here real quick about timing. Yeah. I think you were sort of touching on this a little bit too, is we've now moved past initiation. We've all been organized into our stakeholder advisory committees. And we're now in that community planning phase, like Joe said, is like collecting information, office planning and zoning is collecting information from the various departments, We're also reaching out to the community members. We had that community survey that just wrapped up. We've got a feedback map that's now out that Carrie will go into some more detail later. But this is really that whole like data collection, hearing from the public, gathering all that information. So then we can transition into that third phase, which is plan preparation. So as you can see here, we're not going to move into that third phase until the fall, maybe late fall or so, because we still need to hear from various departments over the next 8 or so months. So just kind of want to remind folks that we're still in the info gathering stage. We haven't drafted anything. We'll get to that in about 8 months or so. Okay. So again, just to sort of break the ice, sort of loosen us all up a little bit, just want to share a poll with everyone, and hopefully that's now up on your screen. So again, it's spring. What are folks looking forward to?
It's hard to pick one. That's good.
A lot of
Can't
good
pick 'em
choices
all.
here,
You,
right?
we will accept all. You could click other. Can I take credit for this poll? These are all the things I'm looking forward to. So I too select all with you, Marilee.
Good.
All right. So we've got 9.
We're going to have to make tough decisions in the future. So
Yeah.
this is one of those tough decisions.
Start now.
Yeah, exactly. You got to warm up the brain to be decision makers here. Yeah, good point. All right, so good deal. We've got folks who are looking forward to warmer weather, grilling and picnicking outdoors. I'm a big fan of March Madness, and this meeting's cutting into that time. So Joe, we'll move things along here. Given
Yeah.
All right. Just share those results then with folks for a little bit.
Oh, look at that. Picnicking was up there. Okay.
Yeah.
Went away.
Does anybody want to share what their other was? Nope. All right. All right, good deal. So the next item up on the agenda is the driving tour. So we are confirmed for April 2nd and 3rd. It doesn't mean that you're going on both days. It just means some people had a better, were more available on the 2nd or the 3rd. So I'll send out an email tomorrow indicating who will be going on each day. And we'll have less than 8 members on each of these vans going. So it won't be considered a public meeting. And we'll be able to talk then freely about some of the sites that we see. So I do, again, want to draw your attention to this spreadsheet. This is a screenshot of it. But let me cancel out here and actually sort of show folks what we're interested in doing. So with this spreadsheet. So again, you see that some of your fellow committee members have already added items to it. We're really just looking for you to identify these points of interest that you think are important in your community. So we've identified a couple commercial areas, some of the environmental areas, and some of the areas that might be ripe for redevelopment, or some of the historical and cultural resources within your community. We want to see those when we drive around. So please, if there are certain items, this is now the time to input that information. So like I said, I'll send out an email tomorrow, confirm who's going when. But in the meantime, leading up to April 2nd and 3rd, really do encourage you to visit this spreadsheet that we've created. I'll include a link to it tomorrow, and fill out this information. So as you see, Jim's kind of filling out one of those rows right now. And we've just got various drop downs, whether you just want to drive by it or whether it's important to stop at that location, why we need to visit that location. And that next column is really to get you thinking about what are some of the solutions to that area if it needs a solution, if it's something that's broken and needs fixed, or again, it's just an issue. Start thinking about, some ideas of how we can remedy those areas. And then lastly, we just wanted to just, again, start you thinking about what bucket would this go in, what planning topic. So we listed out some of these items, which will sort of be that structure for the region plan when we get to it. So again, please visit this spreadsheet. The more information we have on it, now Carrie and I can go through it and sort of organize a route that we can take then on April 2nd and 3rd, just so that we're not making some wild tangents from that route the day of. Okay.
Yeah, and I just think it's, really valuable. I mean, I think right now we've had 5 committee members, put stuff on there. And I think, if you're looking at it, it's kind of a little more focused on the southern end of the district. So I think anything we can do to have more in the middle and a little more in the north, I think would be really valuable. So would definitely really value people thinking about what we should see and where we should go. I think, and especially making sure that it's very balanced in where we're going as well, so we can see everything that we need to see.
Yeah.
You probably already told us what's the date of that we should have that filled out by.
You can do it. I would say I'll include a date, but let's say that Wednesday before April 2nd. Just so Carrie and I have time to go through it and sort of map out a route.
So that'd be March 30th, Wednesday, March 30th.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And like I said, we kind of got the ball rolling on there, which is good. And I mean, but when I went in there, I didn't want to put everything I thought so I think definitely, feel free to go in there and put in what you think. I mean, I think the more the better, because we can really figure out what we should see and making sure that it's not just focused on one area.
And Joe, I apologize. I skipped over a couple of your items here.
Oh,
so.
no, that's fine. I mean, the driving tour is kind of the exciting thing.
Yeah.
I think we're all excited about that, just get together and be able to see each other, but then also just being able to actually, see, smell, hear what's going on in this awesome district we have, and to really kind of think of these things. That's why I'm really excited in seeing what all of you think we should see, because I'm going to learn a lot too about what is important and what's interesting in these areas, and how we can collaborate and think about these things, because they're all really interesting pieces, but you all kind of know hidden nuggets and gems as well. And I think that that's going to be really critical as well, because those are the things that really make the community vibrant. So please definitely take time to do that. And like I said, it's really easy in that Google Doc to go in and you can see what other people have posted, and then add on to it, or think about some other things that are there. It's definitely not complete at this point, so we definitely have lots of room for feedback. Any other questions or thoughts on the driving tour that folks have? No. Yeah, Keisha?
Are we going to meet at a central location for the bus and then everybody joins the bus?
Yes. Yeah. So again, we're tentatively thinking the Maryland City Library there in Russet. We'll meet up there, and then we can head out by bus. Yeah.
Sounds good.
I have
Val?
a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Garnica, and then we'll do Val.
Is this a party bus?
It is a county bus, and because it is a county bus, you still will be required to wear masks.
But no cocktails or anything. I'm joking.
It is a good reminder, though, that because it's a county bus, you do also want to bring your own snacks. I know we had some snack requests before, but please, we'll remind you to bring food and water, but definitely.
No, I was just kidding, but I would not expect snacks. I mean, I'd be happy if we get air conditioning or heating, but
But again, if you have a favorite, shop that we can go in real quick.
I was going to say, maybe we can
Yeah.
stop at Southern Blues on 175. The owner lives
There
in
you
their
go.
neighborhood in Jessup, and it's a fantastic soul food restaurant. So we can just stop there on our driving tour.
Maybe that's the last stop,
Right.
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Put it on the list.
Exactly. Yeah. Great.
And Val, I think you had a question.
Oh, no, my question was answered from the discussion
Okay.
earlier. Thank you, though.
Perfect.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, I was just making sure there weren't any other questions, just looking through. I think we're good.
Okay. Did you want to share anything about then Robert's rules and homework?
Yeah, so just start once again with the homework. Thank you all for working on the trainings. We will look back and do our follow-up, and I'll do personal follow-up to each of you as well, just to make sure you got those trainings done. I know that it got to take some time to do it, but it's just really important. The public has entrusted us to do this, and we have laws and rules to be in place. And honestly, we have much more important work to be doing than administrative stuff like this, like it bogs down Carrie and Mark's time to be tracking this. So I would love to just have this 100% and checked off, and then they don't have to worry about this anymore. So please make sure that you're doing those trainings. And then in regards to the handbook, I just wanted, because I struggled with it a little bit as well. If you are unable to figure out how to sign the electronic document, you can print it out and physically sign it, and then just take a picture with your phone and email it. That's acceptable as well. If you can't figure out a way. If you do want to sign the electronic, I had found a free tool online you could use to kind of hand draw into PDF. So if you want help with that too, I'm happy to help out. But let's just get those signatures in, do those 2 trainings, knock that out, so that way we can do the important work of that. And then we also Carrie sent in the email in prep for this meeting, just some Robert's rules light, just to kind of let everybody review. Definitely something to just keep handy. I think I don't want to spend meetings going over every single procedure in motion, but I think that this is important, just because if there is a time where we are needing to get consensus on something and we're not quite there, which is fine. I love that we're going to have debates and healthy debates, but we'll use Robert's rules as kind of the roadmap to help us come to a decision. So we'll make sure that we have proper motions in place and seconds, and then we'll make sure that we're following that order, so that way there's a little bit of order to the way that we debate and have discussions and finally come to a conclusion on key pieces. So does anybody have any questions about Robert's rules or anything that I can clarify? Like I said, I know it's not the most exciting thing on planet Earth, but believe me, if it's going to be 8 o'clock at night and we're really debating something, it's not when you want to be trying to figure out how to do Robert's rules to get something passed, right? If there is disagreement with us. So was there any thoughts or any questions?
Did
No.
we ever decide on the majority?
Yeah, so with the majority piece, Carrie, turns out there was kind of already a decision that had been made, right?
Yes. So I clarified that in the minutes that were approved, so it is part of the record. But for capital G goals, policies, and strategies, we are required to have the 2/3 majority. So for that question that we were debating about policy issues and recommendations, that's 2/3 requirement. For what is considered a policy issue, again, it's going to be the capital goals, policies, and strategies that you all should be familiar with from having reviewed Plan 2040. And then as well as things like recommendations on the maps and things that we'll be reviewing later that get into more of like the land use policy decisions. And does that answer? Okay. And I apologize again. We just missed it. It was in volume 2 of Plan 2040. So we ultimately at the end didn't have the ability to change it since it was part of Plan 2040.
Yeah, not a problem. No, but that's good though. But 2/3 it's important to know that. And then it's also important to know that it's 2/3 of those present. So that's the other thing too. It's not 2/3 of the whole group. It's whoever's present at the meeting. So that's why it's important to be at the meetings as well, because quorum is harder to get and 2/3 is harder to get the less people we have. So, it's once again, just important to, show up and let us know what's going on. So, well, great. Well, I'm glad we kind of have that, and, happy to review it or chat with folks afterwards. But like I said, I just don't want us to be having a long meeting and suddenly we're, spending 30 minutes going over procedure. Well, we should instead be talking about actually coming together on the capital G goal and what that's going to be and getting the 2/3 vote to support it or not. So excellent. So we're running a little ahead of schedule, it looks like, Mark. So did you want to do the ongoing outreach and then we take a break for the discussion, or what did you guys want to kind of do?
Yeah, that works.
Yep.
Okay.
All
Yeah, why
right.
don't we do that? So since we're ahead of schedule, which is fantastic, that's great. So let's go ahead and let's go on to the ongoing outreach, and then we'll take a break after that. So turn it over to
So
Carrie.
thanks, Joe. You all had requested a monthly brief check-in on status updates with things like the feedback map, the questionnaires that we'll be doing. So I'm going to give you sort of the preliminary update from that first questionnaire that has since been closed, that was on the Region Plan website. I'll walk you through the current feedback map, and then Mark is going to kick us off into the public involvement plan. I think we'll take a break, it sounds like, but Mark, you can go ahead and change the slide.
Yep.
So I'm going to preface this by saying this is a brand new tool for us. The hub websites that we've been conducting these questionnaires through, and then as well as this particular software. So I'm going to just nip it in the bud and say we don't love the amount of engagement that we got on this survey. So we had 63 total responses to the survey. That's relatively on par with the responses that Region 7 got, and less than Region 4. So this is just a breakdown of who responded for the other, or where everyone lives rather. So we had about 27% in Hanover, 25% identified Laurel as a community that they live in. For the other category, it's spelled out at the bottom of the slide there. 4 folks from Russet, 2 from Severn, and 1 from Odenton. Again, Severn and Odenton are outside of Region 2, although of course they do, they are part of the Region 2 community if they live, work, or have kids that go to school there. So this is just the background about whose answers we're looking at. Mark, you can. For the age, you can see that our age category trends toward 56 to 65 years old. That accounted for about a quarter of all of the responses. I was pleased to see that we had a couple 25 years and under folks respond. We did get a couple of comments that some youth were using this survey as part of a school project. So I don't know what school they were from, but that's good. I'm glad that they're engaging with us. But this is a little bit, this information skews a little bit older than the demographics in Region 2, which is why we ask this information. So this is going to be helpful for us, just kind of benchmark going forward, like the numbers that we're trying to improve on in terms of our outreach. Next slide. And then just to look at the breakdown of the race and ethnicity that folks identified. These are census designated categories. So we had about 50% of respondents who answered identified themselves as white. That compares to, there's about 37.5% of the Region 2 population is white. So you can see we're skewing a little higher there. We're a little lower in terms of Black or African-American folks who responded. 31% or indicated their race on the survey. We actually had some skip this question. And then that's compared to about 38% of the Region 2 population identifies as Black or African-American. And then I also included the number for Asian, which was 4.5%. American Indian, we had 1 person identify as that. So again, these are just setting the benchmark for how we can look and see how representative our surveys are. And then getting into some of the questions that were more about sort of planning topics. So I apologize. I know this is kind of hard to read because of the way that it's cut off there. But for the question about what do you like best about where you live, we had 40% of respondents replied that they love that it's quiet and peaceful. The next highest response went to, let's see, there are great options for shopping, dining, and events. And then we also had some support for folks saying that their friends and family are nearby. So that was another reason. I think that's good when it shows that people are connected to their community here. And we'll provide this all in detail for you. I'm just, again, giving you like the high level of what people said. For what do you find most challenging about where you live? There was a lot of agreement that traffic and congestion from cars is a very challenging issue for people. So 71% of everybody said that that was their biggest challenge. We had about 35% of folks say that new development is crowding existing neighborhoods. And about 33% of folks said that not enough green space or parks was their perceived biggest challenge. And I want to just point out some dichotomies in the survey because, you know, we have folks saying that they love the shopping and it's lively and their friends and family are nearby. And then we also have the challenges with thinking that development is crowding out the neighborhood. So those kinds of like oppositions are going to be important for us to kind of dig into as we get into the planning process, is really understanding what people's relationships to the development and the shopping and the destinations in the area are. So before we check in on feedback maps, are there any questions about any of the brief survey stuff? So this is just our first questionnaire. Again, this was something that we wanted to release at the same time that the SAC had their kickoff meeting back in December. And because you all were virtual, it was important for us to have this like tool that the public could participate in since we weren't able to have them be at the kickoff. I would say we will endeavor to get more responses on our digital outreach going forward. It might also be a sign that we need to spend more time actually in person doing stuff, that the engagement was kind of low on this, or lower than we'd like to see it. But I think it gives us, again, a good baseline for understanding who we're reaching with the questionnaires like this and what kinds of shared concerns and enjoyment they have. And it'll be interesting to compare this to the feedback map, because then we'll really be able to target, like, where are the areas of traffic and congestion that people are finding challenging? Where are the lively shopping areas and things that people are enjoying, as well as like the peaceful areas that people also identified. So I think the spatial component will build on this nicely. But yes, so now I will accept questions if there's any.
Well, I don't have a question, but I just, I think it's good to see, like, especially the traffic and congestion being so high, because clearly, I think everybody would agree with that.
Really,
and then I think it's good to see that it's also tied into the public transportation issue. So we're seeing, pieces that connect. And honestly, I'm glad here to see that it's not safe is also pretty low. So, there's I think some good news here, but sorry. And it looks like Val has a question. Val? Val, do you have a question for us? Got your hand raised, which I appreciate you using. Thanks for using the hand raise. Val, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Hi, Val.
Hey, sorry, I forgot the mute to take off.
No, you're fine.
I'm curious, is there a way to see if, based on the location, like Hanover, Laurel, what the responses were according to the survey? Because I think that would be helpful to identify which concerns there are and what the likes and dislikes are for each section of this region too.
Yeah, so that's actually a complicated statistic aggregation, but it is possible. And so I can provide, I can do my best to try to identify legitimate patterns, but it may also be that I provide you a spreadsheet with the raw data, but it is organized by response. So you'll be able to see, for example, I'm looking at one now, someone from Jessup said their thing they appreciate most is that they can access parks and open space, and there's great options for shopping. Their biggest issue is traffic and congestion. So it does, the survey is parsed out like that, and we can provide that for you. But as far as like inferring trends, I'm limited there, but I can provide it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the raw data would be great to see that.
Yeah,
Because
we'll
I
work on
understand it's
getting
hard to
that for you
figure out
guys.
the trends. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what he was saying, because like looking at this, like where I'm at in the Fort Meade area, it's not really bad traffic or nothing like that. So I was kind of wondering where, I guess, the traffic and congestion they were talking about. So that would be helpful.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about, you know, if we got a lot of engagement from people who live in high traffic areas, but less engagement from people who don't, you know, that does affect how the survey looks. So I appreciate the question. We'll provide that for you.
Anybody else have thoughts or questions? It was really, really, really great to hear. Really great to see. I guess Carrie and Mark, you guys will go over, I'm sure once we talk to more transportation folks, but you know, as we talk about traffic, how does it deal with like 295, since that's technically I guess at times a federal highway versus, you know, state run? You know, I guess, do we still consider that, even though that we really don't have any jurisdiction over 295 in certain spots?
Yeah, and certainly we're, you know, in the same regard, Fort Meade is part of this region as well. And we're still waiting for our 15th member here to join us from Fort Meade. But certainly any partner is you know, we want to be able to talk about any of, you know, that area, and certainly they can be included in our recommendations and part of the jurisdiction. It just might require a little more coordination than when we actually do develop a certain recommendation that requires their coordination or input. You know, they don't necessarily have to follow county rules. So it's just working on good faith, I guess, at that point. But certainly, you know, fair to include them and talk about that area as well.
I might be skipping ahead a little bit, but hopefully everyone did have the chance to kind of thumb through the public involvement plan. So you will have seen there, if you hadn't seen elsewhere, that transportation is one of our topics for our May meeting. So that'll be a good one to attend, because we're going to get a lot of information from our local office on all of that. Okay. Ready to move on to feedback maps?
Looks like it, yes. Let's go ahead, Carrie.
I am going to share my screen. I know we try not to, but
No, it's fine. It's very helpful.
I just want to remind everybody. So wait, can you see the hub?
Yes, we can see the hub.
Okay, strange. It's just completely disappeared from my screen, but I trust you. So just a reminder that this is what the Community 2 Planning Hub looks like. And again, this is a new tool that the county is test driving during the region plan process. So right now, if you scroll down to the feedback, you hit your input, it'll scroll you down to the feedback map. And oops, I have to open mine in incognito, sorry, just because, sorry, of the.
It knows who you are.
Yeah, no, well, and it shouldn't have, you guys shouldn't have this problem, but because I'm like a member of the organization. So can you see this map or no, or this page?
Right now, we just see your Google. Looks like it's waiting.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna reshare.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so this is what it should look like for you.
Okay, yeah, now we see it.
Great. So right now we have the feedback map embedded into this website. We also have this explore map that has a lot of layers for you. Now, I prefer to use a full-size map. I'm sure most of you do if you're working on a desktop, so or a laptop. So just note that there is the opportunity here to click into a full scale version of this map with full screen, with the ability to explore the feedback map and the explore map full screen. So I just want to make sure that you know that, because it's a lot easier to use. But essentially right now, these are the comments that we've gotten so far. Again, these are categorized by dream it, things we'd like to see in the future, love it, things I appreciate, fix it, things that need to be fixed. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I added one here about fixing the border of the county there, where the border kind of hooks into Howard County, but just we were testing. But yeah, so this is a great resource for you guys. I think we are getting some good input so far. We are being supported by the Office of Community Engagement and Constituency Services, so the county's community engagement arm, to help get the word out. So they've been doing some of our marketing for us. I think we had mentioned at some point that the Office of Planning and Zoning does not have a social media presence. So this is going to be something that we really rely on you all to help us get the word out about. And I had provided a graphic and some suggested but not required language that you could use to share on Facebook or to email out to your partners. And we will provide that again as follow-up to this meeting, just as a reminder. But one thing I did want to share with you that you probably haven't had the chance to play around with yet is this explore map. So this is our Region 2 Explore map. That doesn't have all of the data about the region, but it has some. And how it works is you can scroll. If you zoom in a little bit, some of these layers will start to become live. So if you're most interested in land use layers, maybe what you want to look at is planned land use. So you hit the eyeball to turn on the layer, and you'll be able to see all of the different planned land use categories that apply to Region 2. Maybe you want to overlay that with trails or parks. We don't have many of those in our region. Education centers, I'm turning them off, sorry, police stations. So all this data is stuff that you can take a look at that'll help you, that should help you kind of get a sense of what's going on in the region. We're hopeful that you can use some of this information and that members of the public can use this information to start to understand better some of the planning landscape in the region, and some of like the assets and challenges, what they look like from like a policy level. For example, bus routes. There's not that many running through Region 2, right? We have very few. So I would encourage you to come spend some time with the Explore map, so that you can start to see a little bit more about the patterns in the region. This is going to be especially helpful when we start getting into our topical conversations next month. And we had the GIS team that we work with leave the data on for all the regions, so you can kind of compare and see where we are in comparison, with the number of parks that we have, compared to our neighboring Region 3, for example. We are low on parks. So again, we just want to highlight this tool for you. You can use it. You can't comment on this just because it lives in a different part of the internet than the comment map does. But I hope that, members of the public, including you, will take the opportunity to kind of explore some of this data, and then maybe use that if you're interested to inform your comments. And again, this is available in this big version or as the embedded version on the actual Region Hub website. And then currently we also have printed maps at Maryland City Library at Russet, at the Severn Library. There's a map at Laurel Park, and we have extra printed mounted maps for you all to use. So if that's something that you desire, is to have a map at a community meeting, to have pins and stickers to do this kind of activity in person, we can make that available to you. We will drop it off to you. You can come pick it up, whatever is easiest. But we are trying to, again, like parallel what's happening online with in-person opportunities. So help us figure out where those should be. And that'll be part of our conversation later this evening too.
That's great. Any questions on this? This is a really helpful overview. I mean, definitely lots to see there, especially because, I mean, we always have known that in this westernmost, I call it the spear of Anne Arundel County, there often is a lot of things that aren't in this area that other
Mhm.
parts of the county has. So I
Mhm.
think like being able to demonstrate that helps make our case.
Mhm. Yeah, and just a reminder, the maps are going to be live. We anticipate at least until June 9th. So, we have a little bit of time to help get the word out. Mark and I are doing an event at the library in May, and, hopefully we'll get some workshops with some of the adults there to contribute to this. But the more kind of like, I think, in-person promotion we can do, either of the printed maps or the digital maps, and the more like robust of feedback we can get, we'll be in better shape once we get down to the goals and policies and strategies to really understand how people's mindsets are. Okay. So hopefully when we check in about this next month, there'll be 3 times as many comments on the map.
And that's something I think we really want to track as a committee, because I think if we're seeing that we're not getting a lot, then I think we can all proactively really figure out ways to really push it before June, before it closes in June.
Yeah, and if you don't like the social media graphic, or you want something else, or you want to make it yourself, again, you're not beholden to use anything that we're creating for that, but we just want to make it easier for you to kind of do that outreach. So let me know if there's something that you need.
Any thoughts on the feedback map, or has anybody been able to kind of play with it yet, or maybe played with it in another version? Yeah, Kevin, I'm sure you've probably.
Yeah, I tried. I went ahead and put a couple comments on it, and it's really very, very slick. You just
Yeah.
click on the point and type in what your thing. Categorize it as change it or fix it. I forget what they are,
Yeah.
and write what you want. I just wanted to put a few in just to start populating it, but I guess the comments really shouldn't be from us. They should be from others.
You're part of the community, so
Yeah.
I mean,
I definitely think we should have our pieces too. Yeah.
Mhm.
just include your name and then we know.
Where it came from. Okay. Any other pieces for this, Carrie, for this section?
No, I think are we doing a break now?
Yep, I
Quick
was
break?
gonna recommend a break, and then, but I didn't want to cut
Oh,
you off. in
sorry.
case you have one more
No.
thing you need to add.
You're not cutting me off. I'm good. But again, just anyone anytime reach out if you need support on outreach. So
Okay, perfect. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and I have 6:50, so maybe we can take a 5-minute break, get some water, stretch. Because the next part, you all are going to be talking. We are going to go in breakout groups, and this will not be the Joe show. So get some energy going, get some blood pumping, and we'll come back and see you in 5 minutes. All right, good. We'll start having folks come back. Excellent. Thank you all. Okay, that's Jamboard.
And as people come on, I'm going to put another poll up.
That will be great.
By the way, this is Thomas Fobbs with Corporate Office Properties. I joined a little late and I'm driving, so I'm keeping my camera off if you all don't mind.
As long as you're driving safely, we don't mind.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah, go ahead and submit your answers. Those are great options. How are we doing on answers, Mark? Do we got?
Yeah, we've got 10 out of 13 or so folks. So
All right.
I can go ahead and share the results here. Yeah. So all of it, a lot of overachievers here. This is good.
Yeah.
And then
No one picked to learn about the legislative process. My heart is broken on that one. But it's so fun.
That's funny. Yeah. So good. Again, you only had to choose, or you could only choose one, but I'm sure if you could have selected, multiple choices, I'm sure that we would have gotten some more responses here for some of these others as far as getting to know more about the region. Joe, your passion of the legislative process, development, redevelopment opportunities, and that process, the environmental assets in the community, as well as public health. So, but these are all items that we're actually going to be tackling. So we understand that each individual member probably has their own interests in each of these. It'll be, varying levels of participation, but we do appreciate everybody's perspective on these topics then when we get into them. So with that, let me jump into the public involvement plan. And I can, let's see, let me see what I want to share here. I'm going to share my screen here in just a second once it unfreezes. But in the meantime, again, this was sent to everybody this afternoon. It's one of the items that we had mentioned in the charter that we wanted to share with you. And it really sort of does, set the foundation or sort of this game plan of how I'm going to start with saying the county works with various stakeholders. We identified the various stakeholders within the community, maybe not necessarily the individual stakeholder, but sort of the, if they're from the business community or whether they're from the military. We want to identify all the various stakeholders within the community. We also lay out the timeline. And I know this is something that a lot of folks have been interested in, is like, how long are you all going to be participating on this committee? When are we going to be talking about land use? And I can bring up and go over some of those more specific tasks that we'll be doing later in the process. But if you were to pull it up, and I'll pull it up in here in just a second, but we identify what that sequencing of events is to get us to a plan to get us to that has goals, policies, and strategies, gets us to a land use plan, gets us to a zoning map ultimately. And it identifies then every step of the way how the public will be involved in this process. And not only sort of who the public is, but then the different tactics that the Office of Planning and Zoning will use to reach out to these various stakeholders. I do want to stress one thing, and we're going to talk about it here in a few minutes, is it's not just the Office of Planning and Zoning reaching out to the various stakeholders. That's part of your job too as SAC members, right? So your job is, and Joe touched on this at the very beginning of the meeting, was part of your job is to take this information and share it with your community members. And when you're sharing it with them, listen to what they're also saying and relay that information then back to us. So, you know, it's sort of this fluid public involvement plan where it's not necessarily just the Office of Planning and Zoning's PIP, if let's call it a PIP, but something that you all as a community can use as well, and maybe provide some inspiration as to some different ways that you might be able to reach out with the community. So let me bring up the document itself, and I do just want to go over a few of the just kind of review a few of the main points. Okay. And again, I do want to preface that this is an evolving document, right? It's somewhat aspirational, but it does provide us a nice roadmap of how to involve the public as we go through this planning process. So some of this information you've seen already, it's in the charter. We just kind of want to reiterate some of what these guiding principles are as we sort of develop this public involvement plan. We've talked about the various previous community inputs through the Plan 2040. We're taking some of that information that we've heard that was specific to Region 2, bringing that into this process as well. And we've provided the links on our website where you can find some of the summary documents from those processes. And then various other items here that will also be, we'll be hosting these various county departments in our future meetings. The Recreation and Parks, Department of Public Works, they'll be joining us to share some of the items that they're working on in the region and share with you what some of the challenges may be as well. So we do identify some of the key stakeholders, right? Just some of the general groups, demographics of folks that we want to hear from. And then here's the timeline. And again, you know, I don't want to necessarily go into this into too much detail, but maybe highlight some of the items that we've been getting a lot of questions about and go through this a little bit more. And so we've color coded it. Your light blues, just to sort of make it easy on the eyes as you're going through this, where it's just the SAC meeting, how the public's involved, and then ultimately here at the end when we go through comprehensive zoning. So, you know, we're over the next 8 months or so, we're going to have the feedback map survey open. We're going to continue to have our SAC meetings every month, maybe twice a month in certain cases. We'll have our driving tour next month. We have a community forum next month as well. That's up on the Hub website where you can register to participate in that. And Carrie and I also be reaching out to, again, these individual stakeholders and having individual interviews with those folks, understanding that they may not be able to get to these SAC meetings, but just sort of give them a little bit more space to share some of their concerns or needs or wants within Region 2. As Carrie mentioned earlier, June 9th would be our cutoff for the feedback maps. We continue through again, more county departmental topical meetings or presentations. Then at the beginning of summer is when we start to really wrap our heads around a lot of the information that we've heard so far and develop a vision for this region plan, for this region. So again, how do you see the community growing in 20 years? So we're actually going to open that up to the public and let them take the first crack at sharing their ideas with SAC and with Office of Planning and Zoning. And then towards the end of that process, after that public visioning ends, is where then we'll meet as a group, and you all can then start develop your vision off of, again, not only the topical meetings that you've heard over the past 8 months, but again, we'll be able to share some of the items that we've heard during that visioning with the public, and you'll be able to sort of, again, take some of their ideas into consideration as you develop a vision then towards the end of September here, or actually October, I guess, too. And in these cases, whenever we have an in-public meeting, we always want to have an online survey as well for folks to fill out. Then towards, again, late 2022 is where we'll start to, again, start developing these, or reviewing, I'm sorry, goals, policies, and strategies. So the Office of Planning and Zoning, as we conclude the topical meetings, Carrie and I will work and start developing some of the language for these goals, policies, and strategies based on what we're hearing from the department and what we're hearing from you all as the SAC. And that's why it's critical to, again, be reaching out to the community so that you can share their thoughts during those meetings, and then Carrie and I can take that back afterwards. So we'll probably need a few meetings to go through the review of goals, policies, and strategies, and then we'll get into planned land use and zoning at the beginning of 2023. We'll have a public review of those goals, policies, and strategies that you all then vetted at the end of 2022. And then we'll actually have a public review of the land use and planned land use map and zoning map in early spring of next year. I'm gonna slow down there because I know in a way that might seem a little disjointed, where we, as an SAC, review the goals, policies, and strategies. And then once the SAC sort of concludes with that, we can put that out to the public, let them review it. Meanwhile, the SAC will start reviewing planned land use and zoning. And as the goals, policies, and strategies public review ends, then we can give the public a draft planned land use and zoning map to start reviewing as well. Now, as part of that planned land use map and zoning public review is where that comprehensive zoning application process begins. And I'm going to just pause there. Something we've talked about too before is, maybe I do a lot of talking here, and maybe I just need to become a little more comfortable with silence. So I know it's a lot to digest. So I'm going to stop and pause to see if anybody has any questions so far, because based on that last survey, a lot of folks were interested in the land use and zoning aspect of this process. Okay. And again, we can touch on this later. This will all be covered as well during our community forum in April. And I know I just shared this with you this afternoon. So again, don't feel like you have to have all this digested right now, but just kind of laying all that out for you at this time. So once we put out those different components of the plan, the goals, policies, and strategies, and the planned land use and zoning, the Office of Planning and Zoning will get that feedback from the public. Yep, Joe, I'm gonna stop and let you jump in.
Yeah, so do me a favor, back up just a little bit to the November, December timeframe.
Yep.
Because I think I want a little bit of clarification, and I'm hoping maybe others have similar questions. So there seems to be some meetings in quick succession there, 3 meetings in like a 4-week period.
Yep.
What is the purpose, why that many meetings in that short period of time? And like, what really do we need to accomplish by the end of the year?
So there is no necessarily deadline for this. The thinking was that these materials will pretty much be prepared by that time for the SAC to review. So the reason why we need monthly meetings now is to give us time to prepare certain things. But now over the next 8 months, once we start kicking off the topical meetings from the departments, Carrie and I will be developing these materials and hopefully have them ready then by late 2022, and we can sort of run these meetings in succession. We don't need to wait another 4 months to meet because we're working on something. The idea, yeah. But again, if the committee wants to take a little bit more time, given the holidays, or just again a little bit more time to think some of the draft goals, policies, and strategies over, that's completely fine to take a little more time with that section. Yeah.
What other thoughts or feedback do folks have? I know this is a lot, but I appreciate the color coding, but I'm sure as folks are processing, there's got to be some thoughts you all have.
Yeah, I had some questions about this whole November, December timeframe. And so planning and zoning is going to create this comprehensive
Right. So we're going to be, the planned land use map and the zoning map. We'll be able to develop that again ahead of time here. That's something we'll be working on over the next 8 months or so, getting input through these various avenues, from everywhere from SAC meetings to the feedback map to other surveys. And so we'll be able to develop a map then that the public can react to. Initially, the SAC can react to, provide comment on, and then that will go to the public.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Is that map going to be based on the land use planning maps that were adopted in Plan 2040?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll take that. There have been some, for folks that were part of the Plan 2040 process, we call them LUCAs, land use change applications, that were essentially punted to this process. So we'll be able to evaluate those and feed those into the process. There might be other tweaks along the way that we've just noticed that need to be changed. But again, we're not looking at a wholesale change from that Plan 2040 plan land use map.
Any other thoughts or questions?
I don't know, it just seems quick to go through, like we're spending all this time, 8 months or whatever, and we get to the land use and goals, and it just seems like there's not a lot of time for input from us before it goes out to public.
Yeah, we can certainly slow the process down a little bit. I don't think we wouldn't want to slow it down too much. Just because there are 2 other phases of region plans that have to happen after this, then before we start the general development plan again. But
would it be possible to perhaps speed up some of the departmental meetings? Those are typically more informational, right? And then we could put more time into the land planning piece.
We can look into that, but again, we're working with other departments who we're having to rely on their staff to prepare these other items, and they've got their own work plans, that we're, borrowing them, and they are preparing some materials for us. So we're also moving at their speed.
Hey, Mark, Thomas Foz, I had a similar comment. It seems like some of the processing that is most important to a bunch of us is being crammed in at the end instead of delaying it. I was going to ask Jim's question, but after hearing the response, I'm wondering if over the summer processes can be overlapped more. So we're doing more of the land planning earlier in the year. Is that at all possible if they're overlapped?
I think you probably want to give yourself space to hear all the various departments before sort of launching into planned land use and zoning. But, again, I might, let Joe open that up to the group and hear some of the thoughts.
Yeah. And what else are folks thinking on this?
Is it helpful to pose the question of what time frame do you all think would be helpful? Is it, adding an additional month for people to kind of comment and coming up with like the land use plan towards the tail end of the year? I guess, what are your sentiments? Like, what were your thoughts?
I guess my thought is, we're meeting once a month to hear all this information, like Jim and Thomas said, that could we speed that up and do twice a month for that and have a month between these? It's like we're getting information the next 2 weeks. We have to, it's a lot to take on in that short, October 3rd to January timeframe, especially with holidays in there and everything else. It just doesn't give you a lot of time to really go through it and discuss it.
So I
Are
think
you
Mark,
anticipating a lot of changes though, Marilee? Because like I said, it's as far as planned land use is concerned, we're not necessarily anticipating a lot of changes, especially because the Plan 2040 was just adopted last year.
But the whole point, I thought, of the region plan was to dive deeper into all this and
Mhm.
see what makes sense. So, I mean, it's not that I'm saying there's going to be a ton of changes. I just think
Yeah.
it should be thorough, and we should go through it all.
And just to back that up a little bit, I think some of us may be sort of fresh off the Plan 2040 review and going through that. And we just recall spending a fair amount of time on the goals, policies, and strategies pieces. And it looks like they tend to sort of like bundle up in that time frame where we've got the GPS number 1, 2, and 3 all within a few weeks of each other.
Yeah. So here's the thing too, I guess, is I hear what you're saying, and I don't think we necessarily need to decide tonight to change all these dates. It could be something that we just kind of feel out, and if we need more time to review items at November, December, January, then that's what the committee needs, right?
okay, I think it'll just be good that we have that flexibility.
Yeah. So let me just keep moving ahead here, and we can always come back to it. But like I said, is once the public has had the opportunity to review the goals, policies, and strategies by themselves, and the planned land use map and zoning by themselves, we'll produce an actual document that puts it all together as the actual Region 2 plan. And it's at that point here in late May to late June that the public has the opportunity to review that. And prior to that, again, is some more tweaking by the SAC. Okay, some final just checks, make sure that everything looks right. We've debriefed you on the public comment that we've received on those various items we've shopped out to the public. And as we're putting it together, just one final sort of fine-tooth review of the plan. So we put that out to the public, get public comments, Office Planning and Zoning makes those changes, and then it goes out for the Planning Advisory Board, and then we have introduction to County Council in September and October. So if you remember, this process really started back in June. And this time frame would put us at, I think, 30 months. And we had initially said the process would take 24 to 36 months. So again, circling back to Marilee, Jim, and Thomas, I think your comments here is we do have some more time, right? That time is somewhat built in. So there is a little wiggle room.
Great. Any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah. And I don't need to read the, again, I'll let you all review this document on your time, but I think it's all pretty self-explanatory then from there on out on this document. So
yeah.
Yeah, so again, to sort of segue, this is that public involvement plan. And I'm sort of stressing the point that we've listed in the right-hand column of the timeline, the different ways that the Office of Planning and Zoning would be reaching out to the public. But again, we need also that grassroots activity happening as well, where you all are sharing information, and as representatives of the community, you're bringing it back to us.
Yep. So I think, yeah, Mark, and I think that's, really as we've been trying to figure out how do we best manage, the community contacts and kind of thinking that through. And, I think the good news is that with, coronavirus ebbing a little bit here and people being more open and weather getting better, I think we're definitely going to see more meetings, more in-person meetings of groups. So I think the biggest thing is just, how can we leverage our collective, networks, Rolodexes, virtual Rolodexes of contacts to then help share this information. And I think that that's really important. And, we've created a Google Doc to kind of help think of meetings in that, but I also just think contacts, how can we share what contacts we have to then allow us to reach out to, other grassroots leaders, community leaders, activists that can help us get the word out and help us get feedback.
This is our whiteboarding session where we're coming up with the ideas. Okay, well, I'll kick us off. I think one way to kind of do this, especially since we are going to have more in-person events this year, is to kind of start attending some of the community association meetings. So, not to like beat a dead horse, but Russet's definitely active and they do have monthly events. Like today, they have a St. Patrick's Day event. And so
I'm not there.
I know, I wanted to go just to like meet people, but I definitely think that face-to-face communication with everyone and kind of explaining what our goal and mission is, and then saying, we just want to kind of hear from you all. I think giving them the information at those types of events might be more impactful to kind of draw engagement and get feedback, because the maps are helpful. I saw the one in Russet. It's definitely great spot, like right in the center. It's just a matter of maybe people just don't pay attention as they're walking in or out. I saw it because I was actually like looking as like someone on this committee, but yeah, I'm thinking to myself, like the average person that's walking in there, are they looking for a map? But definitely, even if it's like you ask the events committee and say, hey, could I have 5 quick minutes to just present about this and just give people an idea of what we're trying to do and accomplish. And then if we have a map on site, with an opportunity for people to fill that out and just kind of look at the map and see these are the borders. What areas do you think we can improve? Do you see problem areas? Could you comment really quick? I think that might have an impact. We have Earth Day coming up aside from today. So that's in April.
I'm on the board, so I have mentioned it at a couple of the board meetings. We have the Russet Library right there. We could put up some signs, but I was also thinking maybe reaching out to some faith-based organizations, churches or whatever, putting on their boards, or when they have the announcements at the end of the mass or the services, I think that would be a good way to reach out to people where you have a bunch of like-minded individuals all together. We have a lot of churches here. We've got some people out in Brockbridge. I don't even know if we have a representative for Brockbridge, but there's a little church out there. It's got very good attendance out there in Bacontown. That I don't know if we have anybody from there, but just going to some of the churches on church bulletins or on the board, you know, people can look at after mass or something. So
Is anybody open to standing up in front of the congregations
I'll do
and
it.
making an announcement?
Yeah, I can do that.
If you're like a member or.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
I can ask
or
the pastor, or
synagogues.
if they can just make the announcements after the services, or if they will allow me to speak. I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
So, but I think that would be a very good idea, you know, to get as many people together, because I know a lot of people would, you know, be interested. Usually people who are regular churchgoers are involved in their communities in other ways outside of their faith.
Mhm.
So that's my suggestion.
So Mark and Carrie, did we want to try to start using and going through the questions on the Jamboard?
Sure. We can. Yeah. I just want to sorry, I'm trying to send you guys something in the chat. I know that we had spent some brainstorming at the beginning of our time together identifying community groups. So here is that list. This is in your drive.
Okay.
And so I hoped that what you identified is here. And if it's not, please add it. There's 3 tabs on this spreadsheet. So community contacts, greater county contacts. So like groups that are working countywide, and then events and community days. So I just want to kick us off by saying, like, we heard about who we need to contact and how, and those are here. And we hope you can spend some time with this resource at another date. And now we can kind of jump in, if it's okay, to this brainstorming session where we are really going to try to nail down some of the things that kind of work together as the SAC, as you guys, like, I guess what Mark and I are trying to do is help facilitate you all working together. You know, the public involvement plan shows what the county can do from its perspective with its resources. Of course, there's gaps, as you've already kind of helped us to identify, and things that we need to go back and look at again. So that's helpful. But then this session could really be thought of as like, what can you all, how can you all work together to kind of fill the gaps, and what are you willing to commit to as the members, and where can Mark or I or the county help you do the outreach that you're talking about? So when Keisha was just saying about the maps and the, you know, comment cards and stuff, do we need to develop like comment cards that you can hand out and take with you and give to us, so that the feedback that you're getting is easy to catalog? So these are some questions that we can walk through. I'm going to hand it over to Joe and Keisha here in a second to kind of walk us through. But I mean, we're going to kick it off. You know, if you want to kind of get some of the things that the government or other community outreach groups are doing that's not effective, and we can get some of that stuff out of the way and make sure that we don't waste time going forward with this. So bureaucratic language is one that I threw on there because I know that that's something that we're working on improving. And everyone should just be able to click the link that I sent in the chat a few minutes ago and access this board. And you can add your notes yourself so that you don't have to like feel, you know, put on the spot. Or if you would rather just talk, Mark and I will add the notes for you. But after this, we can kind of look at what's working well, where can we improve, what new things do we need to do? And then we're going to ask people to commit to 2 or 3 opportunities or events to help get the word out and engage people over the next, you know, well, the next year and a half, the next period of time that we're all working together. Sorry,
So
I know that was fast.
No, that's great. Yeah. So like I said, so we have folks joining the Jamboard, which is great. But like I said, if you're like I said, if folks just want to go ahead and start writing, and then if folks want to talk too, we can listen while we're also doing that. Let's just take a minute to kind of talk about what is not effective at the moment.
Um, can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking the information, I'm not sure how well this plan is being, I know the library is kind of spreading it, and also different agencies in the county are spreading it, but I feel like there's not enough noise about it, meaning that how do we put the word out there? I know different homeowners association. I know my homeowners are aware of it, but I haven't given the chance to talk about it. But I feel like there's no noise about it. I don't know if I'm making sense. So I feel like I know social media is the best bet. So maybe we need to create more hashtag. I know there's some, but I think maybe on our personal social media forum, we can do that. But I feel like there's not enough noise. I don't know if noise is the right word, but it's not really out there. If I wasn't part of this group, I'm not sure. Maybe I would have found out somehow, but I don't think I'll be aware of it as I am now. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is great. People writing. Anybody else want to say anything, or we still have people writing, I think, too, but.
Yeah, and Kemi, hold on to, that's a good thought for what's not effective. And then the next slide is going to be what's working well to engage. So if you have any ideas of, social media or items like that, that might be helpful then.
Well, I think that's one thing that we have really struggled in this area of the county is that we are often not seen as having the money, the power, or the votes of other areas of the county. We're not Annapolis, so we're not a major city with a capital. We're not Severna Park, where all the money's at. We're not South County, where there's once again more money, more voters. So we often, I think, get ignored here in the tip of the county, and our needs get overlooked. So when other areas need a new school, it's going to go to Severna Park, or at least that's how it seems to be in my piece. As someone who used to try to fight for schools and elementary, the new elementary schools and all those pieces, we often would just kind of get pushed aside, but other areas of the county. So I think that that is a factor of the democratic process, right? Elected officials go to where the voters and the money and the power is, but we really shouldn't be thinking about that when we go to zoning. That should be taken out of this equation.
Yes, I call us, or as there's a saying, we're the redheaded stepchildren, and we don't get the respect we deserve. We don't get what we deserve, even though we are contributing members of this county. Yep. And there's been a few times where the county executive, Stuart Pittman, has come to Russet, to our area, and we have let him know that we may not have the money, or we may not have the prestige of Annapolis, Severna Park, but we do have the votes. We do have something. We have our civic pride, and we can make a difference. We deserve our respect. I mean, we don't even get enough cops. I think there's 2 or 3 policemen out in this area in West County. It's ridiculous.
And Nicole's saying 3, and she would know.
Okay, she will know. That's what. So that's. I'm glad.
Piggyback off of what they're saying. I said it from the beginning. Anything west of Route 3, they don't really care about.
Nope.
And I had to fight to get the 3rd policeman for our area, and to get our fire station, the Maryland City Fire Station, staffed with career professionals.
Correct.
Because we only had volunteers. Yeah. For the longest time. And I had to remind the county executive, Steve Shue, that we pay taxes, because forever, Maryland City was only volunteer. So just in the last 8 years, did we have career professionals and not volunteers there. And one of the police cars is from Russet 198 all the way up to Jessup. So in morning rush hour traffic or afternoon rush hour traffic, if something happens at Garnica's house or at Keisha's house and something happens at my house in Jessup, that same police car has to handle
Yes,
both
to
of those
go to
things.
all of them.
And in morning or evening rush hour, we all know that that is not going to happen.
And they closed that one processing center, so now everybody has to go to Annapolis from here.
Correct. So there's no more booking at the police station.
there's
So
no more
everybody
booking.
has to go all the way to Annapolis to book their criminals. So if that happens, the Western District Police officer has to go all the way down 97 in morning or evening rush hour traffic. And God forbid in the summer, we all know that from May 1st on to October 1st, 97 is a disaster.
Yeah.
Due to the holiday traffic. And that starts from Thursday to Monday, that officer is going to be off the road for hours and hours on end. So, you know, and again, there's only 3 police. There's the Adam 1, Adam 2, and then that Adam 3 car is on evenings and overnights.
Yes.
And again, that was because of me, because Russet paid.
Yes, and that is true. I
That
will say,
Russet paid for that $10,000 private security assessment. And that was all me. Thank you very much.
It
And
was. I'm
submitted
here
that.
to attest to that, because on Russet, and they also don't understand, they also don't take into account, we get an impact fee from the Laurel racetrack.
That paid, by the way, that impact fee paid for 9 license plate
readers. It also
to the
paid
police
for
station.
the, didn't we get them a fire truck or a new ambulance we got for the?
2 years in a row, it
Yes.
paid for it split the fees for the fire truck.
We split the fee. So, I mean, we have saved West County, this area, Russet, Maryland, 20724 has saved the county a lot of money.
Millions of dollars
Millions
over
of dollars
20 years I've lived here.
that we have done, and you know, to keep services here. So one of the things also, we brought this up with Stuart Pittman because we had a problem with our hotels and these nuisance businesses. And, you know, we called a special meeting and we invited him there and we said, look, you know, we do a lot and we vote.
We've changed some zoning and planning laws through the county council, by the way, and some health department laws.
And some
but
health
it's still not
department
enough.
laws. And I even searched far and wide on nuisance business laws in other jurisdictions. And I had to even drill so far down as to saying, because there are people who are in hotels, I'm sorry to get off on a tangent, people who want to live in hotels, whatever. And I even had to say, look, the electricity code, the electrical underwriter's laboratory says this is a violation. So you can get things done, but you are really going to have to be very dogged with them and show you're not going away.
So the comment I wanted to make in piggybacking off of what Joe said is the amount of red tape that you have to go through to get something done in this county is insane.
Yes.
You know, some of the legislation that we did get done with zoning and planning and with the health department with some of those code changes, to get some of that stuff done was insane, and it didn't need to be that way. Some of the things that we have been trying to do for a long time within the police department to get the patrol areas changed, to make them smaller. Western has the highest calls for service in this county. To get some of those patrol areas changed and things like that is an act of Congress, literally. The red tape to get anything done in this county is ridiculous. And it doesn't need to be that way. The things we had to do to get Monarch built and it's ridiculous. The Laurel Impact Fee Committee, I sat on that for a long time. The things you had to do, now it's much simpler because they made some changes at the county council level. The things that you have to do in this county to get anything done, there's a public safety tax credit that we get every year. The paperwork just to get that is insane. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be that way. So to piggyback off of what you said, Joe, that they forget we exist out here and you only get heard if you have the money and what have you. But even the people that, you know, live in Severna Park and Annapolis and things like that, that have money still to get any of that done is insane. And it shouldn't be that way. The red tape, it's too much. To submit testimony for the county council for something like the police accountability board and all that kind of stuff was there. To submit my testimony because I couldn't be there was ridiculous.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts? I think because the next question is going to be what is working well for engagement, for feedback from the public. So I think we kind of know that there's definitely some barriers and bureaucratic hurdles. Any other pieces before we move on to the next question? No? Okay, so go ahead and if you go to the next piece on the Jamboard, we can add some more thoughts here, but and just kind of thinking about, you know, what does work well as we do that. And I think, you know, we already have partnering with public libraries, partnering with community associations. So yeah, let's give a few minutes, let folks do some sticky notes on there, and then we can discuss it as well. So take a minute here. This is good. Yeah, so we have soliciting information, Board of Education, use of mail-in surveys, non-electronic means. Community meetings are helpful to bring lots of voices together in an open forum. Mailings, yeah, I think I think that's helpful that we talked a little bit about how, you know, governments tend to rely too much on digital because it's cheaper and easier. But, you know, I think if, especially as you looked at the plan, the public input plan, we talk about making sure that there's equity, right? And we're talking and we're building equity and better outcomes for everybody. And the only way we can do that is by reaching people. And there's still a high percentage of people that don't have access to smartphones, that don't have access to the internet, computers. So we really need to make sure, especially older adults, people with disabilities, you know, they don't have that ability, that ease of use. So that's really, really helpful. All right. Any other thoughts on this one before we go on to our next question?
This is Thomas again. Is there a budget for or could a portion of an advertisement budget be for large? I'm thinking like large political signs that could be posted somewhere that almost hits you in the face in high traffic areas, even if it's just temporary. You know what I mean? Something that posted the website and hey, be a part of the community, a short, sweet message that would point people in the right direction. Does that make any sense?
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's so hard to get communities involved. We do a lot of community meetings for projects, and unless people, you know, unless they're mailed something or they know to look, nobody knows to look for this information. So if there's something that, yeah, really attracts their attention.
What about also maybe like, you know, some of the school drives that people have like in the fall, you know, it attracts like people kind of giving donations. And I'll be honest, anything that draws people there because of free food, like it gives you an opportunity to connect with them and talk to them. and just, can I have 5 minutes and just chat and then give them the link to provide some input or something, or a card? Is it also possible, like if you have like a front desk, let's say in your community, that people have to come in to like pay fees or ask questions? Could we solicit for them to assist us also and see if they might be able to kind of provide some outreach to people that are coming in?
Yeah, that's a good idea. The question is, how many community groups do we have that have those
No, that's a good
resources?
question.
I think it's just you guys, and then I don't think Shipley Homestead does. The only other one may be Seven Oaks, but
No, we
that's
don't have it.
Severn, that's too far over. So
Are there any in Glen Burnie, like any community associations? Because I'd really like to kind of hear also from that, like what are the best avenues to kind of reach out to people within the northern region of our district? Do people regularly attend like any, or are they active in certain meetings? Is there like community events like a YMCA or something in that region where parents might take their kids for like swim lessons or Saturday morning soccer? And then you can kind of walk around and ask people questions like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? I was just thinking out loud.
Val has his hand raising. Val, you're in Shipley Homestead, right? Northern.
Yeah, I'm in Shipley Homestead.
Okay.
We don't have a front desk or anything, but I was going to suggest that it would be good to post. We have a clubhouse, and we could post. I could talk with the board of directors and see if we could post on the clubhouse information about the maps or any meetings. Also, I think it would be good to go to grocery stores, because I think everyone needs food. So if we can partner with Costco or wherever grocery Safeway, all these whatever grocery stores are in this area, and have things posted at the grocery stores as you walk in, that's probably the most effective to bring awareness to this, in my opinion. Thank you.
Well, Val, that's actually kind of great, because the sixth question is, what are we interested in, and what are 2 to 3 opportunities, events, connections, or tactics that we personally can commit to? So, Val, kind of sounds like you had some ideas there of getting, this into your community center. I know that sounded like Guernica, he's been doing it with Russet, but we talked about religious. So, I mean, if you can, if folks can go on this Jamboard and put in maybe 2 or 3 tactics or strategies or activities that you can do personally, I think that would be great, because once again, thinking of the power of our group, I think we have 11 of us here tonight. If each of us does 3 things, that's 33 outreaches, right, to different groups. So I think that that's something that would be great. Yep. So we already got one up there. So, if it's question number 6 on that, or if you aren't on Jamboard and you just want to say it, I'm sure we can add a post-it note for you. But folks want to take just a second and kind of put on here, and then we can make sure if you say a certain group, say which group, so that way we don't have, well, it's fine to have overlap, but we should just coordinate if there's going to be overlap.
I wanted to make a comment on number 4 regarding community events. I know there's Hispanic Heritage Month, in the month of September. I don't know if it's too far away. Also, I know the African community are planning to have another festival this year as well. So that's 2 events that I'm aware of that's coming up this year. But there are other small, I guess once we have these community events, we can share it and see who can attend and kind of pass this information. But that's something I just wanted to share.
That's great, Kimmy. Good, this is great. We have, looks like we have Jessup improvement in here. We have Shipley's, we have a Russet. Where else can we get some specific ideas?
I know we mentioned the grocery store, like Sam's Club is busy, Walmart is busy. That's another way. I don't know how we can do it, but on a Saturday, I know that's a busy time that we can pass some information out. I don't know, but it's just, I'm just thinking about it. I think we can take advantage of those
They will
areas.
probably have better, you'll have better luck with like a Starbucks or a regular grocery store. I know that Sam's Club and Walmart's and that have pretty strict soliciting policies outside of their doors.
Okay.
So those ones in particular, but I think others are definitely very valuable to do. I just know that Costco and that they're pretty good sticklers about not having people approach their customers as they're coming in and out.
What about that nice grassy area to the left of Walmart that's not necessarily on their property where they were going to build a restaurant that never happened? Between the Walmart and the Sam's Club, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We can't get them to cut their bushes, but that really nice area in between Walmart and Sam's doesn't belong to anybody. I'm just saying, for the record. I feel you, Kemi. I'm just saying, that area doesn't belong to anybody. It was supposed to be a restaurant that never happened. So if you just happen to show up with a tent and some nice yummy stuff, people will stop by.
That's true.
Because that's what the Girl Scouts do.
That's so true.
In fact, we should get the girl. They're like a little mafia, man. You tried leaving or going into a place without buying some cookies? They scare me.
And don't go in front of Total Wine because they are really mean. My little kids basketball team, they booted us. We had permission from Sweet Frog to stand in front of Sweet Frog, but if we migrated too close to Total Wine, they booted us. So I'm just saying.
Well, the ones at the Fort Meade Commissary, they can be vicious, and then the Cub Scouts outside of the Class 6 store, it can be.
Because my suggestion was going to be Total Wine because it's March Madness and there's a lot of people going in Total Wine right now. So that was going to be my next suggestion, but you got to stand a little closer to the other side.
What are folks' thoughts on the train stations, whether Odenton or Laurel or Jessup or Annapolis, Annapolis Junction? What's that? Savit? No. Anyway, do we feel like that's worth trying to put things into the train stations or near there? I know that people are slowly starting to go back to work to DC to Baltimore.
I think it would be worth it to put some postings up there since people are going to start going, that are slowly going back in. I think to put some postings, to put a person there, I don't know, because you're not having the traffic there. And even if you are, people are trying to get in and out. I don't know if they want to sit there and listen to something like that.
Something with the QR code that they could scan.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I mentioned they should put that at busy spots or like in restaurants. QR codes or something that like a lot of people just have their phone on there and like they're pretty interested and they're just sitting on a bus or sitting on the train. That's something they could do while they're waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I can do that.
That may get the younger crowd buy-in too, that we were looking for, that 20 to 25 population, that, you know, they're all into this QR thing.
Yeah,
it's really simple. It really helps us out. And all of us, like I said, we always have our cell phone. So like even when we go to restaurants, there's a lot of restaurants that don't even have menus anymore. You just have to scan a QR code. So QR code or anything like that would probably be better than like a poster or like handouts and stuff like that.
Or you could do the poster with the QR code. Sometimes I'm in a busy time or I just don't have time. I'm like, oh, that catches my eye. I take a photograph of it and then I'll read it later. But, you know, to have the information and then with a QR code to have that, but I will take a picture of it and then go back and read something later. But I think we should target places that would be to the younger crowd. I can't believe I can actually say with a straight face and be serious, younger crowd, people who are really younger than me. This is disturbing. But you know, to get something to where you have your, what do you call them, millennials, Gen Y? I don't know what they're called now, but places where younger people hang out. I don't know where that is because I don't hang out there anymore. But
Restaurants, the movies.
well, yeah, like movies. I think movie theaters, movies would be good. Some restaurants, I guess.
Drive-throughs. Like if you could participate, like I said, with local restaurants,
Mhm.
or like they can put little slips in their DoorDash and stuff like that. Like that's always good because we use DoorDash and what's it called, Uber Eats and stuff all the time. So having like community places participate like that, like if you can either do some kind of sorry, leave my camera some kind of incentive or something to where, you know, they get more involved, then having things like that that's like right in front of our face would make a lot more sense than something that like we have to take time out of, especially when a lot of people don't really, you know about the whole process of anything, or like I guess really take as much time out. Like, have you looked at the graph? A lot of the people that did get involved or that did have like a say on the websites were 55 and up, and the people that did do it had to do it for school. So therefore, having like an incentive or something that would help to get people more involved, or doing something like someone said, like at community events or things that are already happening. It's about to be summertime, so a lot of people are going to be going to, you know, different festivals or even local like food trucks or
I didn't think about food trucks.
Food
my
trucks is one of the
organization-
biggest things for sure.
My organization, Oresset was talking about something with food trucks, but I know one thing we could probably do is with the swimming pools, a lot of swimming pools, a lot of places where people would congregate. But I think we need to look at some areas where we can get our target demographics. I hate saying this, I sound so old. I don't know where the younger people go today.
Fast food restaurants might be an
Oh my
option.
gosh, I feel old.
Within the Laurel area, there's a lot of fast food restaurants, and you know, if you don't want to cook, you just kind of want to pick something up quick.
I know
That could be an
Chick-fil-A
option.
is very popular.
Yeah,
Starbucks.
it is. Starbucks,
If we
Target for shopping. My
Target,
goodness.
a lot of places, you know, if we look and we diversify, maybe you know, some of the there's a little cosmetic center there or whatever, over in near the Panera. I think if we canvas and we show, we make the information available to people, that we can get some feedback.
Nail salons.
Nails.
Yeah.
I need mine done. Now, I don't know, would we be doing some door-to-door canvassing? I'm not knocking on doors. I'm just asking if that would be a possibility.
Oh, well, I don't mind. In my community, I don't mind like walking around and just chatting with people.
Or maybe we could do it in conjunction with some of the representatives or state people who are I know Mike Rogers, who's in our area, is running for re-election. And when they're doing their canvassing,
we can join them.
Or find a nice, friendly Jehovah's Witness. I don't know. I mean, put it in a watchtower. Just saying.
What about, is it appropriate to go to the Amish market? Because I feel like there's a lot of people from District 2, although I know it's not technically in our district, that do shop there on Saturdays, Friday, Saturdays.
It was discussed. Some people suggested going to the Amish market because you do get a lot of District 2 people. If you're not in Anne Arundel, they're going to pass you by, but there are a significant amount of people from this area that go to the Dutch market. Yeah. And I think that would be a good place to be. We could reach a lot of constituents. Also on Fort Meade, on military paydays, the commissary is packed. But
I was gonna say, if you get me the flyer, Joe, with the QR code, there's a bulletin board by the restroom. And then there's another one in the shopette that has the liquor in it.
The shopette where the liquor, and also I do fight people for coupons, and we can put one there, and the post office.
Yeah, so if you get me a couple, Joe, if you have my email, if you email them to me, I'll be happy to stick them up there. Again, with the QR code, people will do it, so.
Oh, and family services, the counseling, the Army Relief, those.
There's
places.
Yeah.
3 daycare centers, CYS has 3,
Yeah.
so I can put them up in there too.
The 3, the Army Relief, the thrift shop, but there's a lot of places on Fort Meade, because I know that a lot of people on Fort Meade, a lot of people in the military feel left out because they're like, they're in the military, but spouses and family members who are not active duty, they have to be Maryland residents. You know, they're registered as Maryland residents, so they do have a say, they do have a voice, they do have a vote. So I believe that if we reached out to Fort Meade, we would probably get a decent amount of feedback, because people do really feel disenfranchised being in the military. They feel more federal than state. They don't feel some type of ownership. And I think if we can give them an ownership of the community, by, you know, even though they may live on base, we could probably get some buy-in on that.
So this might be a good place to remind that for this contacts list that I shared, and that's in your share drive now, and we'll follow up with a reminder tomorrow. You know, we do have like the Fort Meade Spouses group listed on here, Fort Meade Alliance group. So again, definitely take a look. I think that there's been a lot of really good ideas on this. I'm not trying to cut off the conversation, but I just want to remind that there's like a resource where some of this is. And something I did want to chime in and say, though, is I hear you guys saying a lot about the QR code. It's good for Mark and I to have input from you on what kind of resources it's helpful for the QR code to go to. So right now, the obvious solution, like choice, would be the feedback map.
The feedback map, yeah.
And that's what I would suggest. But again, if you're doing outreach with a certain group, you know, and you need a certain type of resource, please, again, like, we are happy to create that stuff and to outfit you with the resources that you need. So sounds like we need to develop some flyers here shortly that you can use in the next couple of weeks to help get the word out about that, in addition to the social media stuff. But definitely, you know, if you think of other resources or things that you need to link people to, let us know. Sorry, Val.
Yeah, I had a suggestion. I think a lot of young people are using YouTube and Facebook, and we should be creating a video format of this information for those customers, and we should be linking that, I think, to whatever we're posting. I think that would be very effective. Have a YouTube channel for Region 2 and a Facebook group for Region 2. I think there's a lot of Anne Arundel County Facebook groups that we can post to. That would be very effective for reaching the 20 to 40 range group.
I think that's an excellent idea. I'll do the narration, but no, I think that's an excellent idea on how to reach our younger viewers or constituents, is to the way that they travel, and it is a lot of social media.
I was
Also-
gonna say TikTok or Instagram, probably more than Facebook, because a lot of people are moving off of Facebook.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Kimmy?
Sorry, I do have a question with the Amish market. How do we pass those type of information to them? Like, there's going to be Prince George's, Montgomery County residents that comes there. So how will you be able to do the separation? I guess that's just my concern when it comes to the Amish market, since it's actually it's like in Prince George's County, but it's close to and around our region. So that's just my concern. Like, if I go there, how will I pass information to people? That's just my thought.
Yeah, I think for gathering feedback, so for the feedback map, right, the comments that people are making are coded to a specific part of the county, so we can make sure that the feedback is like relevant to the region. And a lot of people who live in Prince George's County or Howard County work at Fort Meade, right? So they do have to pass through Region 2, use our roads, stop at our restaurants, you know, drop their kids off at daycare. So they count as stakeholders. In the future, when we do more online surveys again, the IP address, you know, that's a question we ask, is like, which zip code do you live in? And then there's like IP address you know, there's some methods to help prevent us from getting inundated with feedback from, you know, all over the place. So we do ask that question on surveys, and we will. But yeah, for going to the Amish market, I wouldn't worry about you being the person to decide whether or not somebody should comment or not. We'll be able to look through what they say and filter it.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, this is great. I mean, I think we have a lot of great things on the jam board, folks committed to things. I think we can revisit this at another meeting as well as folks start doing stuff. But definitely, like Carrie said, go put in your contacts, tell us what meetings you're going to. Sounds like they're going to work on a flyer for the feedback maps, which is great. So I think these are the discussions we'll just keep having as we keep pushing this out. We want this to be grassroots. And this plan won't work unless we're the ones out there pushing it and using our networks and resources. So for next steps, definitely make sure, folks, if everybody could do your trainings. I know I keep saying it, do your training, sign the handbook, let's get 100%. Definitely let us know about the driving tour. We definitely want to know what points of interest you have, so please do that. As a reminder, our next meeting will be April 21st. Oh, yep. Thank you, Mark, for being my memory there. So April 2nd and 3rd will be the driving tours. The 20th will be our public forum. We hope many of you can attend. April 21st will be our next meeting, and we're going to talk about economy and public facilities. And then May 19th, we'll have a meeting as well. And then we'll have the survey and surveys closing. So, you know, really thank you all. Really appreciate your work. We know that this is hard, especially after a long day being on Zoom. I've been on Zoom since like 9 a.m. this morning, so I totally get it. But I appreciate it. We are going to move to start doing some, you know, we're going to definitely see each other in person for the driving tour. I think that's great. And then we'll maybe look to have like a meeting in June in person as well there. So just want to thank you all for that. If there's no other questions or anything.
It looks like Mary question.
Oh, yep.
Just a quick, what time of the day were the driving tours anticipated and the public meeting on the 20th?
Yeah, the driving tours on the 2nd and 3rd will begin at 9 a.m. We'll like I said, we'll send that information out tomorrow. And then was your second question about the public forum?
Yeah, was it the 20th? I thought I saw.
April 20th, yeah. Was it 6:30?
There's 2 sessions. There's one at noon, from noon to 2, and then there's one at 6 from, or is it 6:30? Actually, Mark, you might be right. Sorry, I'm gonna look right now for you, Mary Lee.
Okay, and I was just wondering, I know I almost forgot about this meeting. Can you send an invite to everybody for these monthly meetings so it's actually like on our calendars? Or is that not an easy?
I thought it already is.
It might be attached to the email that we had to make for you to access the stuff.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I logged into the wrong Zoom. I think the very first meeting. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have something?
Yes, this is a question maybe for Mark and or Carrie. Just wondering about the results of the last survey that was online and how many responses you got. And are you going to make those responses public so that we can all look at them?
We got 63 responses. We will make it public. I reviewed all of the demographics and went over some of the responses at the beginning of this meeting. So when we post this meeting recording next week, you'll be able to watch that first like 10 minutes and see a preview of everything. But yes, we will release it.
Okay, and so you will be able to see the raw data, the raw responses?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that if that's gonna be, but we'll be providing that to at least the SAC. I'm not sure what our rules are for.
It seems like it should be public information.
We'll consider that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Excellent. Well, hearing no other questions, do I have a motion to adjourn? Nicole's motion, do I have a second?
I second.
All right, I have Keisha's a second.
So does
All
Marley.
right. Yeah, no problem. All right, well, with no objections, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Look forward to seeing you all in twice in April. So thank you all so much. Have a great night. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Bye.